Hello, Namaskar, Vanakkam. Today with this video, I'm going to start a revision, a one-shot revision series of all the chapters of your CBSE, Flamingo and Vistas. Also would look at the writing skills and if time permits, even the unseen passages. Of course, there's a long time before your exam starts. So let's just get started with this and we will see, depending on the response, decide what to do with this one-shot revision series, which will also contain questions and answers, because remember, this time as part of the 50% competency focused question paper, you will have many more MCQs and 1 mark and 2 mark questions. You will have lesser number of long format answer questions. Okay, so that's what you need to focus on. So this is the last lesson, the first chapter of your book. So this is the illustration which kind of shows the teacher, the French teacher M. Hamel, interacting with his students on the last day at school. So let's go through what really happens in this particular story. This is to serve as a revision for you. The background, the story is set in 1870s, 1870-71. During the Franco-Prussian War, France was defeated by Prussia, which is modern-day Germany. As part of the treaty, the French districts of Alsace and Lorraine, located east of Paris and close to the German border, were to be handed over to Prussia. So the Prussian army had taken control of these two towns, and that's where this particular story is based. What are the themes of this particular? See, what I've done is to basically break it down into themes. If you want a word-to-word explanation, the video is already there, so you can always go and look at the video. This is to serve as a quick one-shot revision, and I'm doing it in English because there are hundreds of channels which do in Hindi. But the whole idea is that since you have to attempt the paper in English, it would make much more sense for you to know about all these things in English. Fayda zyada hoga. So what is the main theme? The theme of language and identity. And I have put this in bold because these words you should use in your answers. The theme of identity, the theme of language. Okay. The story explores how language is tied to a person's identity and what happens when that connection is threatened. Some of the short notes, not these notes, some of the short notes already are there on the Study with Sudhir Instagram page reels. All you need to do is to take screenshots. You will get something. But this is to serve as a revision. So after you have done the chapter, just see this video at 1.5x speed. It will really help you. What happens when that connection is threatened? It highlights the importance of embracing one's language to protect individual and collective identities. This is an important passage. Please take a screenshot so that you can use this in your answers. Then the second theme is the impact of war. The story showcases the unsettling, because the war, the bulletin board, everything is very unsettling because too many changes are taking place, right? And Hamel is a representative of that unsettling change and uncertainty brought about by war, including the imposition of a new language. Now, German is to be taught, French will no longer be taught, and the loss of one's homeland for the protagonist, since he has to leave the place. Who is the protagonist? The teacher. He has to leave that place after having served there for so many years. Then there is the theme of nostalgia, the theme of loss. What is that talk about? The characters lament the loss of their French identity. On the last day, they realize that, oh, we wish we had put more energy and time and focus into learning the French language, which is our mother tongue, and connection to their roots, because he tells them on the last day that this is your identity. This is the key to your prison. So that's what they realize on the last day. Then the theme of patriotism. The story emphasizes the importance of loving and learning one's language, particularly when it is under threat, as a form of patriotism. So these are the main themes of this particular story. So if you get a 2 mark, 3 mark kind of question, please make sure you use these words, because these are important words that will enhance the quality of your answer. Now, quickly, let's go through the characters. He's the young narrator. The story is told by Franz of the story, who initially takes his French lessons for granted but comes to appreciate their significance on the last day. On last day, he realizes that, oh, I wish I had done that. Then, of course, Hamel, the French teacher who embodies the love for the French language, is deeply affected by having to leave his school and his students. He represents the powerless as he is forced to leave by those in power, the Prussians. So he's powerless. And the last bit about the chapter kind of showcases that in terms of imagery, that while he's winding up, there are the Prussian soldiers marching along, right? Outside the school, outside the classroom. So that kind of resembles that is the power, the brute power that has make sure that this person leaves that particular town, Alsace. Then the villagers who are there, a lot of them, the old Hauser, etc. The presence of older villagers in the classroom on the last day symbolizes their regret. Regret is another important word which you should use in your answers for not valuing their language and education and their solidarity with Hamel. Now, symbolism. Now, this is an important part that you should definitely look at. What are the symbolic elements? This is very important. Please make sure you note it down in your notebook. Bulletin board. What does the bulletin? Now, this can come as a 1 mark or a 2 mark question. What does the bulletin board signify? It represents the constant source of bad news, quote unquote, and the political context of the story, because the bulletin board is where you get to know what's happening as far as the war is concerned, what will happen after the war has been won by the Prussians. Then the Sunday clothes that he's wearing, he's wearing very ornamental kind of clothes, the green frill coat, etc. What is the significance of that? Because it's a last day, he wants it to be special as far as he's concerned. The symbolism of the pigeons, because it is used sarcastically by the author to highlight the absurdity, the ridiculousness of imposing a new language on a population, right? So the pigeons are used. Will they also learn to coo in a new language? So it is to highlight the absurdity of imposing the language. Then, long live France, pronounced as Vive la France, Hamel's final act of defiance and patriotism before he leaves the school. Now, these are important words, and you could get a question around these words. So please make note of that. Then, what are the key events in this particular story? Announcement of the last lesson, because he announces that this will be the last French lesson due to an order from Berlin to teach only German in Alsace and Lorraine. The second key event is of France's realization that he regrets not valuing his French lessons and realizes the importance of his language and heritage on the last day. Last day of Hamel in school. His emotional farewell, because he delivers a very heartfelt, emotional speech, okay, about the beauty of the French language and its importance to their identity. I again say, you want to know it word by word, please look at my video. It has been done in extreme detail. This is a revision video. Then the writing lessons, the students practice writing to reaffirm their connection to their homeland. They're writing it again and again in their notebook because they want to emphasize their connection to their motherland. Then the sound of the Prussian trumpets. This is important. It represents the encroaching, because they are coming over there. In terms of sound and visual imagery, they are completely taking over Alsace. That's what it signifies. They are there in your face. And contrast with the peaceful atmosphere inside the classroom. So inside the classroom, it is a moment of nostalgia, it's a moment of regret. So you have all those emotions playing out inside the classroom. Outside the classroom, it is a moment of triumph, that we have conquered these two towns. These two towns are no longer belonging to France, they belong to Prussia. So there is an element of triumph in a war like situation, whereas here there is a thing of having lost the battle to control their land, and with it lost the battle to ensure that they continue to learn their mother tongue, right? Final words: unable to speak due to his emotions, Hamel writes "Vive la France" on the blackboard as a final act of patriotism. He wants to say that, long live France. So this is as far as the major themes of this particular story are concerned. 1 second. Let me just show you something. So if any of you has not bought any kind of books for doing a lot of competency focused questions, what I would suggest is either of these three books you can look at. Now there is this particular book which is a one for all English core from Oswald Books. Oswald Books, I really reckon that they are the best of the lot available in the market. Okay, so Oswald Books, this one English core you can buy. This is for the 2025 examination. Then if you don't want to this thing, there is this one which is a question bank. So either of the two you could look at for preparing for your English examination. Both of them I would suggest. You can go to oswaldbooks.com, the website, not Amazon, the website. And there, when you are placing the order, in fact, not just this book, any book for that matter, you can use my, because I'm an author for ISC, you can use my discount coupon code Sudhir1010, wherein you will get an additional discount and free delivery on Oswald Books. Okay, this is for your thing. Please use it. If you want to save some money for your parents, don't want to save it, don't use the coupon code. Either way, it's okay with me. Okay, so let's look at some of the questions now. Choose the option that most appropriately fills in the, so it's a fill in the blanks. The villagers and their children sat in class, forging with their old master a dash togetherness. So these are the four options that you need to choose. So I would give you 20 seconds for you to read the paragraph and then choose the correct option, A, B, C, D. In that moment, the classroom stood dash. It was France itself and the last French lesson, a desperate attempt, a desperate hope to dash to the remnants of what they had known and taken for granted, their own what. So, it's always better to kind of look at one particular word and see which fits and then try and match the others. This is the way, in fact, you get a lot of questions in MBA level examinations. So CBSE pretty much following that kind of format. So the correct option is D, forgotten. The villagers sat in class forging with their old master a forgotten togetherness. In that moment, this classroom stood transformed. Okay, it's not mesmerized. It's not hang on, keep on. It's not still or up. So then it was France itself and the France had desperate hope to hold on to the remnants of what they are known and taken for granted, their own identity. So this identity, what I said right at the beginning, which is why I did the revision. Identity is an extremely important word as far as the last lesson is concerned. The villagers were attending M. Hamel's lecture as they felt dash for dash. What are the two words which will come in the two fill in the blanks? So the correct answer here is C. In the last lesson, which of these would most likely not be M. Hamel's thought on the day of the last lesson? Read the four options. I'll give you 10 seconds. Okay, I need to scroll up to show you the last. Sorry, I need to scroll up to show you the last option. This is the fourth option, and the correct answer is B. B is, why do they seem so unaffected? Do they not know what has happened yet? So this is something which is not on Hamel's mind, right? So option B. At the end of the story, the last lesson, Hamel turned to the blackboard, took a piece of chalk and bearing on all, this is the last paragraph of the chapter. Why is this action significant to the story? Note the fact that he did that and wrote that on the blackboard. Why is it significant to the story? Does it show Hamel's determination? Does it show his attempt at preserving his culture through language? Does it show his intention to disobey the orders of the Prussian soldiers? Or does it show his effort to cheer up the students who were sad to see him go? C and D, obviously not. Is it A or B? It is B. In the last lesson, Hamel's decision to wear his special outfit can at best be described as, the correct answer here is C, a symbolic gesture to emphasize the importance of the day. read this one, because in CBSE you get slightly longer options, so you need to take time. So I'm giving you that 10 seconds to read every question with all the 4 options. You choose that and then I will tell you the answer. Right? I hope you have gone through that. The correct option is B, that he feels sorry for Hamel, that it was his last French class. Which of the following idioms describes the villager's act of attending the last lesson most accurately? Is it too little too late, too cool for school, too good heart, too good to miss? Which of the idioms kind of encapsulates what the villagers must be feeling? The correct answer is A, too little, too late. We wish they had been more diligent about the class earlier. France saw a huge crowd assembled in front of the bulletin board but did not stop. How would you evaluate his reaction? He was too little to care about the news of lost battles. He did not want to chat with the blacksmith. Bad news had become very normal, so he went about his task. No one in France's family was in the army, so it did not matter. So which of the 4 would evaluate, because he did not stop? So the correct answer is option C. There was usually great bustle and noise when school began, but it was all very quiet. Which of the following describes France's emotions most accurately? Confusion and distress, shock and awe, curiosity and uncertainty, disappointment and anxiety. Please always remember that it's quite possible in some cases that one of the 2 options words may be correct, but you need to always see whether the second word is also a correct option. So always make sure that you look at both the words in a question like this. So what is it that describes his emotions when he sees that the school is being unusually quiet? What would be? Is it confusion and distress, shock and awe, curiosity and uncertainty, or disappointment and anxiety? The correct option is disappointment and anxiety. He's anxious. Disappointed. Why? I've given the reason here. See, he was counting on the commotion to get in unnoticed, so nobody will see that he is late. So he was disappointed. The line says, you can imagine how I blushed and how frightened I was. So he was obviously anxious. He's anxious because he's a little scared that France, because of his tendency to use his ruler, may actually use it against him, use it on him, because he was late that day to school. So this is what? This is both an application and a recall question, right? France was able to understand the grammar lesson easily because he was receptive, appreciative, calm, determined. What is it about France that he's able to understand the grammar lesson or whatever was taught that day very well? Because he was a receptive. Among the quotes given below, choose the option that best describes M. Hamel's viewpoint. Those who know nothing of foreign languages know nothing of their own. Now, these are all quotes of different authors, different writers. Which of them you would say describes Hamel's viewpoint very well? Language is the roadmap of a culture. It tells you where its people come from and where they are going. Okay, option B. Option C is a poor man is like a foreigner in his own country. The last one, the greatest propagandist in the world is our mother tongue that shapes our perceptions for life. So the correct option is option B. Now, many of these questions are there in different kind of papers. Now, some of them are my original questions. Some of them are taken from different sources, because it's quite possible that you may not have access to either a book like this, not from this book, but different papers which are prepared by different boards, state boards, okay, of CBSE schools. So I've tried to collate that and put it out for your benefit. Hamel calls French the most beautiful language in the world. It reflects his nostalgic pride, subject expertise, patriotism, or revengeful nature, right? Obviously, it is not D. So D is ruled out. Patriotism is the right answer. I was amazed to see how well I understood it. Select the option. Select the option that does not explain why France found the grammar lesson easy. So it is a not explained. So please always be careful when there is a word not used. France was not keen to go sliding on the Saar that day. Hamel was being extremely patient and calm while teaching. France was paying careful attention in the class this time. France had realized that French was the clearest and the most logical language. So you have to choose the option that it does not explain why France found the grammar lesson easy that day. The correct option is option A, because there's no question of him thinking of the Saar that day. Let's look at the extract based question. So I want you to first read the extract and then we will go to the questions. I'll give you 30 seconds to quickly read the extract. So France refers to the wretches. So who are the wretches that he is talking about? He's talking about the French, the Prussians, the village people, or the school children. The correct answer is the Prussians. Why does Hamel tell everyone to be very attentive? Because he wants to quiz them on the last lesson. He wants to inform them of his dinner. He wants to tell them about the new language they learn. He wants to teach them so much of the language that possible. That class, the correct option is option D. What does the order from Berlin signify? The blending of two different cultures, the imposition of one culture over another, the peaceful coexistence of multiple cultures, or the universal recognition of one culture as superior. The correct answer is option B. This line from the extract depicts Francis. What does it depict? What a thunderclap those words were to me. You know, these words were to me. That particular line, again, it is one of the more important lines in the story. So please, I mean, if there is a question, it could be quite possible that you could get it around that line. Even otherwise, you should be able to use that in your answers if a 2 or 3 mark question is asked. So what is the thing? Is it confusion? Is it astonishment? It is disappointment or anger towards the people of the village? You know, so it is thunderclap because he realizes that, oh, that's what it really meant. The correct answer is B, astonishment. Select the option that uses mounted as used in the extract, that he mounted the platform to kind of, you know, the chair to kind of address the class. So which of these uses the mounted? Is it tension mounted or mounted the platform or mounted the bicycle or mounted a protest? So you see, you are being tested not just about what is there in the story, you're also going to be tested on the kind of language that has been used by the author in the story. So it is in that sense a very 360-degree way of testing you, which is why it is called a competency focused question paper. The correct answer is B. Let's look at the second extract. It's a very thorough thing. See, if you are able to answer most of these questions, that means you are reasonably well prepared as far as this story is concerned. Okay, that's precisely the reason why I'm doing this. So let's look at the second extract. Please go through this. I'll scroll it up. After a while, poor man, it was in honor of the day he had put on his hair. And now I understand the old men of the village were sitting there in the back of the room. It was because they were sorry. So it's talking about who all were there in the classroom that day. Okay, shall I go ahead? Choose the option that might raise a question about Hamel's faithful service. I want you to read this. I'm not reading this out. So once you read this, you would be able to the advantage with this particular book is that it will also be useful for students who are going to take the CUET exam. That's what it says, also useful for the CUET exam. So along with your board exam, you will also find it useful for the CUET examination. So these are the 4 options that might raise a question about Hamel's faithful service. The correct option is option C, that he often sent students, you know, that he also used them for his own errands without being serious. So that kind of puts a question mark that even he was not completely 100% sincere, and he has the honesty to admit so on his last day. It was in honor of this last lesson that he had put on his fine Sunday clothes. Which of the following best captures Hamel on the last day of school? Which are the 4 this thing? Is he cranky? Is he patient, dignified, emotional? Is he proud, reproachful, heroic, or calm, nostalgic, and patriotic? So the 3 words, all 3 words have to fit in. Only then you will mark the correct option. The correct option is B. He's being very patient. He's not being, you know, reproachful. He's not scolding France for coming in late. He's being very dignified, and he's also extremely emotional. See, this one will not work because he's not either proud or reproachful. He's calm, he's nostalgic and patriotic, but he's not calm because he's also feeling very emotional at the same time. What does it show? Okay, it shows that he was overwhelmed with emotions. The correct option is option A. Let's look at a third extract based question, which is why I said I'm trying to make it as thorough for you as possible by doing this revision test. Let's look at this particular passage. Please read it, and then I will ask you the questions that follow. Done. So he's talking about what he did while he was teaching them, that he would kind of both the parents, the students, and he himself on occasions were not serious. Those fellows in the extract refers to the villagers, the soldiers, the parents, or the Germans. So where is those fellows? Those fellows out there will have the right. So he's talking about the Germans. Select the appropriate expression that signify the economic condition of the people of Alsace and Lorraine. Your parents were not anxious enough to have you learn. They prefer to put you to work on a farm or at the mills. Have I not this thing? So the correct answer is B. But you're not the worst. Poor little France, we've all a great deal to reproach ourselves with. Whom does all refer to? We all have, So he's talking about himself also. So the correct option is A. Okay, let me just quickly go through this 40-50 word, because you may get short questions and not the 120 word this thing, which has come in previous year question papers, right? Because the board has said that there will be fewer number of longer questions. So let's look at some 40-50 word questions. What was more tempting for France than the rules of participles? You can take a screenshot. Now this is a recall question. This is a recall question that expects you to remember each and everything. And if you see, I have quoted from the text. So the more you quote from the text, the better chances of you scoring those 2 marks straight away. So you talk about what were the birds doing, the Prussian soldiers, the sights and sounds, and why he found all that very interesting. Why is it important for Berlin? Now, this is an important answer which I have written. Why is it now? This is an analysis question. Why is it important for Berlin to displace a French teacher? The decision to displace Hamel is not personal. It's not as though Berlin has got some personal animosity against M. Hamel. Berlin's decision to displace Hamel from the school where he served for 40 years is because it sees him, it sees the French teacher as a representative, an agent of the French language. This is an extremely important phrase which you should use in your answers. That makes him a politically dangerous element because his presence would help the French in Alsace stay connected to the language. It would give them the key to the prison, and they don't want that to happen. His eviction, therefore, is a political decision to effect a sharp linguistic change. Fantastic phrase. Please use it. These are my original answers. Please use these kind of phrases so that you get top marks. He's also a victim of the war. He's not taken part in the war, but he suffers collateral damage. He suffers as a result of that, not connected with it directly, which is why I teach you in English, because if you're able to use these kind of nice words, the examiner is bound to feel impressed. So please ensure that you take full advantage of this series. Comment on the use of the literary device of contrast towards it. This is a beautiful question, and dare I say, a beautifully written answer. The striking of 12 on the church clock is followed by the recital of the Angelus, which is a Catholic prayer. Please take a screenshot. At the same time, the Prussians sound their trumpets while returning from their drill. This highlights the two contrasting worlds of peace and violence, faith and brute force. The church representing faith, the soldiers representing brute force, peace and violence. The force of the Prussian soldiers had won the day. They had won the war, having uprooted Hamel, the representative of the French language, from Alsace, right? That is in the limited scope of the story. That is their victory. Final question. What was the difference between Hamel before the Berlin Order and after. Now, this is more of a recall question. Before the order, Hamel was known to be a strict teacher whose terrible iron ruler. You see, I've put it in quotes. Now, that's to show the examiner कि मैंने text इतनी बारी पढ़ा है that I'm able to remember quotes from the text. Would rap on the table. In fact, if you just see my video at 2x speed also, you would be able to recall all the questions. Can be a great revision along with this video. As cranky, children were scared of him. Now, this is all before. You know what all he did before? I've put in all the points. Ki kuch bhi nahi chhote. On the last day, his demeanor means his attitude, his entire personality had changed dramatically. He did not scold when he was late. He was polite even when Franz failed to answer his questions. He took a more philosophical view of his failure to teach the language to his students. So with this, I've come to the end of the revision, one-shot revision video and question and answers test paper on the last lesson. Please let me know, subscribe to the channel, share the video with your friends. Depending on the response, we will see whether it is worth it to kind of spend so much time preparing the notes, preparing the question and answers, and recording this video and editing it and putting it out for you. So please do let me know, and then we will take it from here. Tata, bye bye. Thank you very much. God bless you.